The first proof did not come from a phone, a confession, or a slip of the tongue. It came from a child's backpack, opened by mistake on a courthouse bench, spilling out crayons, a half-eaten biscuit, and a small black flash drive wrapped inside a school worksheet. Amir did not even know his 7-year-old son owned a flash drive. The stranger, sitting 2 seats away, noticed it too. A woman with tired eyes, who looked like she had not slept in days. She picked it up, stared at the label written in a neat hand, and quietly slid it back into the bag as if it had teeth. Not since the day Hina filed for divorce and served him papers like a business contract. 12 years of marriage, reduced to allegations and line items. She did not just ask for separation, she asked for everything. The house, the savings, primary custody, child support, even his car, because she claimed it was a marital asset used for family needs. Her petition described Amir as unstable and controlling, the kind of man who should only see his child under supervision. Amir read the pages again and again, searching for the life they had lived. He could not find it. He found only a new story written with surgical confidence. The hearing that followed felt less like a search for truth and more like a performance built around paperwork. Hina arrived with a polished lawyer and a calm face that Amir barely recognized. Amir had brought a modest attorney recommended by a colleague, a good man but not a magician. The judge listened, nodded, and asked for documents. Hina had stacks. Amir had explanations. He learned that explanations without documentation sound like noise. Every time Amir tried to add context, the lawyer redirected the room back to numbers and dates, back to a narrative that turned ordinary marriage friction into proof of danger. Outside the courtroom, Hina moved fast. Joint accounts were restricted, access to certain payments was changed, and the household bills that Amir used to manage suddenly became his sole responsibility. At the same time, messages from unknown numbers began arriving, accusing him of things he had never done. A complaint was filed at his workplace, in language that sounded concerned but smelled like sabotage. Amir was called into a meeting and asked whether he was dealing with stress that might affect performance. He understood then that this was not a divorce. This was a takeover. The strangest part was how clean it looked from the outside. Hina posted motivational phrases about self-respect and starting over. Her friends commented with hearts and applause. People who had eaten at Amir's table now sent him polite messages, saying they hoped everything would be resolved amicably. Amir stared at the word amicably, as if it were a joke. There was nothing amicable about watching your life get disassembled. While everyone clapped for the person holding the screwdriver, Zayn became the battlefield. Hina claimed Amir had frightened him during an argument, and a temporary order limited Amir to supervised visits. Amir felt shame and anger in equal measure. In the visitation room, Zayn sat on the edge of the chair, hugging his backpack like armor. His eyes kept scanning the adults as if he were reading weather. Amir spoke softly, asked about school, asked what he had eaten, asked whether he had been sleeping. Zayn answered, but his words felt rehearsed, careful, as if he had learned that language can be dangerous when parents are at war. Amir began collecting small facts, the way a drowning man collects air. Bank alerts, email timestamps, receipts, screenshots of old conversations. He was not hunting revenge. he was hunting survival. At night, he sat at the kitchen table with his laptop open, replaying the last year of his marriage, noticing how often Hina had framed love as fairness and fairness as a transaction. If he asked for time, she offered a schedule. If he asked for affection, she asked what he had contributed. If he questioned a new expense, she accused him of limiting her growth. Amir realized that he had been paying for peace with silence, and the bill was now due with interest. He thought betrayal would look like an affair, a secret hotel, a lipstick stain. Instead, it looked like a strategy. It looked like selective evidence, carefully edited to remove tone and context. It looked like a friend group reshaped into a jury. It looked like power collecting itself around the person who could perform innocence better. Amir started to wonder if sincerity had become an outdated currency, something you could not spend in modern courtrooms unless you converted it into files. One name kept returning in his mind: Mariam, Hina's best friend since university, the one who helped build the boutique, the one who knew the vendors, the one who was present at birthdays and anniversaries. Mariam had always seemed steady, less intoxicated by attention. When the divorce began, Mariam disappeared from Hina's public life. No supportive selfies, no girls' night captions, no comments. Amir did not know whether that meant Mariam was loyal and silent, or disturbed and distant. He had no energy to guess then. On the morning of the second hearing, Amir saw Mariam for the first time in weeks. She stood across the corridor near the vending machines, not beside Hina, not near the lawyer, but alone, holding her phone like it was heavy. Their eyes met. Mariam looked away first. Amir felt a strange chill, the feeling you get when you realize someone knows something that could destroy you or save you, and you do not know which one it will be. That was the same day the flash drive appeared. The same day Zane's backpack opened on the bench like a mouth. Amir watched the bag carefully after that, not because he suspected his son, but because the world had become the kind of place where even a child's belongings could carry consequences. When the clerk called them into the courtroom, Zane reached for the backpack with both hands, pulled it close, and walked in with the serious face of someone carrying more than pencils. The hearing began with Hina's lawyer repeating the same confident story, the one where Amir was reckless, where Hina had been brave, where taking everything was framed as protection. The lawyer submitted more exhibits, more printed messages, more financial summaries. The judge listened, asked a few questions, and turned to Amir's side for response. Amir's attorney started to speak, careful and measured, but Amir could feel the room leaning away from him. He could feel how easy it was to lose when the other person was not just fighting for justice, but shaping reality. When they took a short recess, Mariam crossed the corridor and stopped near Amir without looking directly at him. Her voice was low and controlled, like someone trying to keep a dam from breaking. She said she could not watch this continue. She said she had tried to convince Hina to stop. She said Hina had crossed lines that Mariam did not think she would ever cross. Amir's mouth went dry. He waited for the sentence that mattered, the sentence that would explain the flash drive, the silence, the distance. Mariam did not offer comfort. She offered something colder and more shocking. She said, the best friend who took everything had also kept receipts, and those receipts were not meant to be seen. Mariam's hands were shaking, but her face was steady. The way a person looks when they have already cried in private and decided they would rather tell the truth than keep the peace. She explained that Hina had treated the divorce like a business exit, and Mariam had been asked to help. At first it was small, advice on wording, advice on timing, advice on which messages to show and which to hide. Then it became darker. Mariam had been asked to create a clean narrative, to make Amir look unstable, to collect anything that could pressure him into surrendering quickly. Mariam said she refused, and that refusal turned her from best friend into liability. Mariam said the flash drive belonged to Zayn, but Zayn did not understand what it contained. Weeks earlier, Hina had asked Mariam to help organize files from her phone, claiming she needed them for her lawyer. Mariam had seen the folder names and realized they were not evidence of abuse. They were evidence of planning. There were notes, screenshots, private voice memos, and a list of steps with dates. Mariam copied everything to protect herself because Hina had a habit of rewriting history, and Mariam did not want to become the next story Hina edited. When Mariam decided she could not stay silent, she placed a copy somewhere safe. The safest place was the last place Hina would search: a child's school bag. Amir felt dizzy listening, because betrayal has a specific kind of weight when it is confirmed by someone who used to be family. He wanted to ask why, he wanted to ask how, he wanted to ask whether there was any love left in the woman he married. But the court doors opened again, and the recess ended, and the room called them back into the performance. Amir walked in with Zayn beside him, holding the backpack close, and Amir realized his son's small shoulders were tense. The child could sense the storm, even if he did not know the weather report. Back in the courtroom, Hina's lawyer continued with the confident pace of a person who believes the conclusion is already decided. The lawyer spoke about protection, about stability, about how Hina had carried the emotional burden of the marriage. The lawyer repeated claims that Amir knew were false, then looked at Amir as if truth was a matter of tone rather than facts. Amir watched the judge's face, searching for doubt, searching for curiosity. The judge looked thoughtful, but not convinced. Amir's attorney attempted to challenge the timeline, but Hina's exhibits had been selected like weapons, sharp and clean. Then the judge asked a question that changed the oxygen in the room. The judge asked why several bank transfers occurred on the same dates as the alleged incidents. Transfers that moved money out of joint accounts into a new account under Hina's name. The judge said it did not prove wrongdoing by itself, but it raised concerns about financial transparency. Hina's lawyer responded smoothly, calling it ordinary precaution. Hina nodded, as if it was all reasonable. Amir felt anger rise, because the lie was not even emotional, it was administrative. It treated deception like paperwork. Amir's attorney asked for a brief private conversation. They moved to the side, and Amir explained what Mariam had told him. The attorney's eyes narrowed, not with excitement, but with professional caution. Evidence can win a case, but it must be introduced correctly, and it must be authentic. Amir said the evidence existed, and it revealed planning, manipulation, and tampering. The attorney asked where it was. Amir looked at Zayn's backpack. The attorney inhaled slowly, as if trying to remain calm inside an absurd moment. Then requested permission from the court to introduce newly discovered digital evidence relevant to both custody and financial claims. The judge looked displeased at the disruption. but also attentive. The judge asked why it was not submitted earlier. Amir's attorney said it was discovered today through a third party who feared retaliation. The judge asked whether this third party could be present. Amir looked toward the back, where Mariam sat now, alone, hands clasped. Mariam raised her hand and stood. Hina turned, and her expression changed for the first time. Not anger, not sadness, but alarm. It was the face of someone who realizes their witness has switched sides. Mariam explained that she had first-hand knowledge of the file contents and their origin, and that she had preserved them because she feared the materials would be deleted. The judge asked if Mariam understood she was testifying under oath. Mariam said she understood. The judge asked whether the files were altered. Mariam said they were copied exactly as they existed, including metadata and timestamps, and that the original devices were still accessible. The judge granted a controlled review. A court technician connected the drive. The room went quiet in the way it does when people sense a cliff edge. The first folder was not dramatic, but it was deadly. It was a notes file titled Plan. Inside were dated steps, written like a checklist. Move funds, create narrative, trigger workplace complaint, push for supervised visits, offer settlement only after pressure builds. Under that list was a second list of what to collect: selective messages, screenshots that remove context, recordings cut short to highlight tone, witness statements from friends prepared in advance. Amir felt his stomach tighten as the judge read. Hina's lawyer began objecting, but the judge raised a hand and requested the next file. The next file was a set of voice memos. In the first memo, Hina described how to provoke Amir into sounding angry on recordings. She described pushing him, then pressing record when he reacted. She described sending Zayn to ask questions at the wrong moment so Amir would look impatient. She described how to cry with no tears because people believe a trembling voice more than a calm one. It was not the content alone that shocked the room. It was the casualness, the way manipulation sounded like routine. Amir heard a woman he barely recognized, a woman speaking about her family as if they were pieces on a board. The third file was a message, thread between Hina and someone saved under a nickname. The messages discussed how to stage a friendly witness, how to frame Amir's work stress as emotional instability, how to use social media sympathy to create social pressure. The judge asked who the nickname belonged to. Hina's lawyer tried to deflect, but Mariam quietly said she recognized the number, and it belonged to a private investigator Hina had hired. The judge's expression hardened. The judge requested documentation of that hiring and ordered Hina to disclose relevant communications. Hina's confidence collapsed into stillness. The kind of stillness that happens when someone has been exposed and does not know which lie to choose first. Zayn sat beside Amir, silent, but his hand slowly reached for Amir's sleeve. Amir felt that small grip and fought the urge to cry. It was the first time in weeks that his son touched him without hesitation. Amir did not want Zayn to hear any of this, but the damage had already been done long before the courtroom. Betrayal does not begin when evidence is revealed. It begins when trust is treated as a tool. Amir leaned slightly toward his son, steadying him with his presence, and promised himself that whatever happened next, he would rebuild safety first. The judge called for a longer recess and ordered both parties to remain available. Outside, Hina confronted Mariam with a look that mixed rage and disbelief. Mariam did not respond with insults. She responded with calm. She said she had watched Hina become obsessed with control and that she had tried to stop it. She said loyalty does not mean enabling. She said friendship does not mean helping someone destroy the father of their child. Hina's face tightened, and for a moment she looked like she might speak, but nothing came out except a breath. The silence was not repentance, it was calculation, and Mariam recognized it. When proceedings resumed, the judge issued temporary orders that immediately shifted the balance. The judge lifted the supervised visitation requirement and moved toward shared custody pending further investigation. The judge placed restrictions on further asset transfers and ordered a forensic review of financial records. The judge also warned Hina about contempt and potential sanctions for evidence manipulation and bad faith litigation. Hina's lawyer asked for time to respond, but the judge's patience had evaporated. The judge said the court cannot protect children and fairness while tolerating a manufactured reality. In the weeks that followed, the case changed from Amir defending himself to Amir rebuilding his life. The forensic review confirmed transfers timed around hearings and a pattern of financial concealment. The workplace complaint was traced to an email drafted on Hina's device. The private investigator's contract surfaced. Hina did not go to jail because the system often prefers correction over punishment in family court. But she lost what she tried to take. The settlement returned a fair division of assets, and custody became structured around Zayn's well-being rather than Hina's narrative. Mariam did not return to Hina's life after that. She accepted the cost of telling the truth, and it cost her friendships, invitations, and a version of her identity. Amir thanked her, but Mariam said she did not do it for Amir alone. She did it because she could not watch a child learn that manipulation wins. She said the modern world has many ways to betray, and the easiest way is to make betrayal look like righteousness. Amir understood that sentence deeply, because it described exactly what had almost happened to him on a quiet evening months later. Amir sat at the same dining table where the divorce papers had once waited like a trap. Zayn sat across from him, drawing his backpack on the floor, lighter now, filled with ordinary things again. Amir did not feel triumphant. He felt older. He had learned that love can be replaced by leverage when power becomes the goal. He had also learned something more important, that sincerity must be protected with wisdom, and loyalty must include boundaries. He looked at his son and chose a different lesson to pass down. Not bitterness, but clarity, that trust is sacred, and anyone who treats it like a strategy is already capable of taking everything.